Right as we find out that BYD wants to build a gigafactory in Mexico to manufacture EVs very cheaply and then ship them straight to the United States, where they would qualify for EV incentives, Ford are saying this is a big threat. It's a colossal threat, and they're very concerned. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Just want to say a big thank you to our Patreon supporters. Really appreciate your support. And if you'd like to become a Patreon, I'll put a link in the description below. Ford sees colossal competitive threats to low-cost Chinese EVs. They're saying that Chinese EVs will swamp the market. And I think Ford is also making a bit of a reference here to Tesla making cheap EVs in Mexico using Chinese supply chains. Now, they are Chinese companies that will set up in Mexico, supply Tesla. Tesla will then apparently flood the US with affordable EVs that Ford are worried they can't compete with. The same goes for BYD. Now, Ford is recalibrating its EV strategy as mainstream US consumers say that EVs are too expensive, and Ford are having the problem where they are making massive losses. In fact, they're losing more than $30,000 on every EV they make, which is the biggest reason why the company has scaled back its EV production. Ford sees low-cost Chinese electric vehicles as a colossal strategic threat. That was their quote, by the way, from Ford. They will ultimately arrive on US shores, adding to the challenges for an automaker already confronting what they say is shaky consumer demand for plug-in cars, at least for Ford's plug-in cars anyway. They're ahead of us in this technology, said Ford's COO. But we look at that and say, that's coming here eventually, so we'd better get fit now and better get going on EVs or we don't have a future as a company. And this is the COO of Ford, right? The Chief Operating Officer, basically rebuking, this is in my opinion, I mean, let's think about it. If a sports player would say criticize his own team, then he's basically saying, Ford, this decision to reduce our EV production, to scale back our EV factories is a bad move. Ford is recalibrating, downsizing its EV strategy as mainstream US consumers they're not buying Ford EVs as much as what Ford thought they would. And the bigger problem here is Ford is unable to make cost-competitive EVs. CEO Jim Farley revealed last week that Ford is working on low-cost EVs to take on Chinese competition and an affordable model that Tesla says it has coming. But Ford, they have to wait until they can produce lithium iron phosphate batteries in the United States using CATL's technology, and that plan has been put on hold because US Republicans, US lawmakers don't want it to go ahead. They're very concerned about the rise of China. They're very concerned that Ford will be using Chinese technology, will be licensing Chinese technology. Well, BYD recently, in December, I should say, sold more EVs than Tesla did. January, of course, Tesla sold more than BYD. So it's a cyclical scenario. But BYD, they are manufacturing very, very affordable EVs, and they're doing it at making a profit. And Ford are essentially seeing that and saying that is the colossal threat that we face. Speaking in a panel discussion on disruptive technology in Detroit, Ford's COO expects Chinese automakers to build factories in Mexico to get around the 27.5% US tariff, which is called the chicken tax, on EVs made in China. And it's clear that that's what BYD plans to do. He cited news reports that BYD is already scouting factory sites in Mexico. If I was sitting in China right now running a Chinese OEM, I'd be looking for land in Mexico because you've got a supply base, low cost of construction, low cost of labor, and the USMCA trade agreement that gives you access to the United States. He said in an interview, they're going to come here, just as the Japanese ended up here. The Koreans ended up here, and the Germans ended up here. It's a big market. But clearly Ford's COO, Chief Operating Officer, is very concerned that Ford will lose massive amounts of market share. And that matters. It matters in the United States. I mean, the truth is that Ford is not really a global car company anymore. They've just fired many, many thousands of staff in Europe, closed down factories there. They just closed down a factory in Brazil. Their global production now is really focused on North America because that's really the only place where they're making significant profits. Now, if Ford were to lose market share in North America, that would be catastrophic for them because they're already losing market share in their second biggest market, which is China. And that is going to continue to shrink. Thank you for watching.